My beloved child. Pause for a moment. There are times when the heart grows so quiet that it forgets the sound of hope. If these words have found you today, allow yourself a single breath of stillness. Not because chance has brought you here, but because your soul has been searching for comfort that ordinary words could never provide. I have watched every tear that never reached another person's eyes. I have heard every silent question you whispered into the darkness when you believed no one was listening. I know the nights when your smile disappeared the moment everyone else walked away. I know how many times you convinced yourself that being strong meant carrying every burden alone. Yet strength was never meant to become your prison. For longer than you realize, your heart has carried invisible wounds. Some were left by broken promises. Others were carved by people who entered your life speaking beautiful words but departed without understanding the sacredness of your soul. Each disappointment became another stone placed upon your spirit until love itself began to feel distant, almost impossible. Even then, I never stepped away from you. When you believed heaven had become silent, I was arranging moments you could not yet understand. When you thought doors were closing forever, I was protecting you from paths that would have stolen the future prepared for you. What looked like abandonment was often mercy wearing unfamiliar clothes. There is something your heart has forgotten. Healing does not always arrive through solitude. Sometimes healing arrives in the form of another soul, one whose journey has been shaped by pain different from yours, yet whose compassion has been refined by the same fire. Before such souls are allowed to meet, much must happen beyond human sight. While you were learning patience, another heart was learning courage. While you were discovering forgiveness, another soul was learning how to trust again. While you wondered whether anyone could truly understand you, someone else was whispering prayers with your name still unknown to them. You have imagined love as a sudden beginning. Heaven often prepares it as a long unfolding. Every disappointment, every delay, every season of loneliness has quietly shaped the version of you that will recognize genuine love instead of chasing temporary comfort. There were people you desperately wished would stay. If they had remained, your heart might never have become ready for the embrace that carries peace instead of confusion. Do not mistake delay for denial. Some gifts are wrapped in time because receiving them too early would break what they were meant to heal. Your soul has grown weary. Not because you lack faith, but because you have spent so much of yourself trying to become worthy of a love that was never meant to be earned. Listen carefully. The love prepared for you will not ask you to become someone else before it welcomes you. It will not demand that you hide your scars. It will not measure your value by your past. It will see the places within you that others overlooked and treat them with extraordinary gentleness. And when that moment comes, something inside you will remember what peace feels like. Not excitement that fades by morning. Not affection built upon uncertainty. But a quiet certainty that settles into your spirit like sunrise entering a dark room. You have asked me many times why your heart still longs for someone you have never met. Because your soul recognizes promises before your eyes can recognize faces. There are connections that begin long before two lives cross upon the earth. Do not misunderstand this. The person prepared for your future is not perfect. Neither are you. Perfection has never been the foundation of enduring love. Grace is. Compassion is. Choosing one another through ordinary days is. And somewhere, beyond the limits of your present understanding, another heart is being transformed in ways you cannot yet imagine. There have been moments when they almost gave up. Moments when they believed love had forgotten them. Moments when they questioned whether anyone could ever truly see them. Just as you questioned. Just as you waited. Just as you hoped against hope. What neither of you realized was this. The same unseen hand that carried you through your darkest nights was also carrying them. Two separate journeys. One patient purpose. There is a reason you have felt an unusual stirring within your heart lately. A quiet expectation. A longing difficult to explain. It is not merely emotion. It is the gentle awakening of hope after a long winter. The season is changing. Not because life suddenly becomes effortless, but because your heart is becoming ready to receive what fear once would have rejected. And there is one moment, one sacred moment, that has already been written into the story of your life. It is not marked by crowds or celebrations. It is marked by stillness. A moment when words will become unnecessary. A moment when two wounded hearts will discover that peace can be shared. A moment that will begin with something so simple, yet so profound. A single embrace. And when that embrace finally comes, you will understand why every delay carried meaning. But there is something about that first hug, something heaven has been protecting until the exact appointed time, that you are not yet ready to hear. The mystery has never been about whether you are worthy of love. It has always been about whether your heart could recognize it when it finally arrived. There are blessings that announce themselves with thunder, and there are blessings that enter so quietly that only a peaceful soul notices their presence. The embrace prepared for you belongs to the second kind. It will not erase your memories, nor will it pretend that your past never happened. Instead, it will stand beside every painful chapter until those memories lose the power to define who you are. For years, you believed healing would come through finding all the answers. You searched for explanations behind every goodbye. You replayed conversations. You wondered what you should have said differently, what you could have changed, and whether another version of yourself would have been easier to love. But my child, healing rarely begins with answers. It begins with acceptance. Acceptance that every season has shaped you into someone capable of offering kindness without surrendering your dignity. Acceptance that every disappointment has refined your ability to recognize sincerity. Acceptance that the heart you once considered broken has quietly become stronger than you ever imagined. There is another soul walking beneath the same sky who has been learning similar lessons. Not identical. Not copied from your story. But close enough that when your paths finally meet, neither of you will need to explain every scar. There will be an understanding deeper than perfect words. There will be compassion where once there was fear. There will be patience where there was once urgency. Long before you recognize one another, grace has already begun preparing the meeting. Perhaps they have noticed sunsets more often lately. Perhaps they have started smiling without knowing why. Perhaps they have found themselves praying for a future they cannot describe. Just as you have. Neither of you realizes that hope has been growing quietly in both hearts at the same time. Do not imagine this preparation as a straight road. Even now there are moments when doubt whispers that nothing beautiful is coming. There are mornings when old fears return like familiar visitors, asking whether disappointment will always arrive before joy. Those whispers are not your destiny. They are only echoes of yesterday trying to convince you they still belong in tomorrow. Look at how far you have already come. Once, you believed your story had ended with loss. Now you are still standing. Once, you believed your tears would never stop. Yet here you are, carrying compassion instead of bitterness. Once, you thought loneliness would become your permanent companion. Yet somewhere inside you, a small flame refused to go out. That flame was never yours alone to protect. I have guarded it through every storm. When others overlooked your quiet acts of goodness, I saw them. When you chose forgiveness instead of revenge, even though it hurt, I saw it. No kindness given in love is ever forgotten. Sometimes the world celebrates loud victories while overlooking gentle faithfulness. Heaven does the opposite. Heaven notices every unseen act of mercy. It remembers every patient heart. It treasures every moment you chose hope over despair. That is why you must not compare your journey with anyone else's. Some people bloom quickly. Others grow roots so deep that when their season finally comes, they withstand winds that would uproot anything less prepared. You have been growing roots. That preparation has often felt like waiting. Yet waiting has never been empty. While you wondered why life seemed slower than everyone else's, unseen pieces of your future continued falling gently into place. Imagine a tapestry being woven from countless threads. If you looked only at the back, you might think the knots and loose strands were mistakes. Only when the work is complete does the hidden pattern become visible. So it has been with your life. What seemed random has been forming meaning. What appeared delayed has been unfolding with quiet purpose. And the one destined to share part of your journey has also been discovering that purpose in ways neither of you could have predicted. Perhaps they once believed they would never trust again. Perhaps they built walls so high that even hope struggled to climb them. Perhaps they laughed in public while carrying silent grief no one could see. You do not know their story yet. They do not know yours. But compassion has already begun writing a language both of you will understand. There will come a day when neither of you feels the need to impress the other. Silence will not feel uncomfortable. Laughter will arrive without effort. Ordinary conversations will somehow carry extraordinary peace. You will realize that true comfort is not found in perfection but in being fully seen without fear. Many imagine destiny as something dramatic. Yet the most sacred moments often appear ordinary. A shared smile. A conversation that lasts longer than expected. A moment when your eyes meet and neither of you feels the need to pretend. Then, almost without warning, there will be a quiet realization. Not that every problem has disappeared. But that neither of you has to carry life's burdens alone anymore. And then. The embrace. Not rushed. Not forced. Not born from desperation. It will feel like coming home after wandering farther than you ever intended. The weight you have carried inside your chest for so long will seem lighter. Not because another person has become responsible for your happiness, but because genuine love reminds the heart that it was never created to live in fear forever. You may wonder whether such peace is possible after everything you have endured. Yes. Not because pain is forgotten. But because love teaches pain a different ending. Remember this, my beloved child. Do not chase what is meant to grow naturally. Do not hurry what needs patience. Continue becoming the person you are called to be today. Continue offering kindness. Continue choosing honesty. Continue believing that gentleness is not weakness. The future does not require you to force open every closed door. Some doors open only when both hearts are ready to walk through them together. Until that day arrives, let hope become your companion instead of anxiety. Let gratitude replace constant striving. Let peace become stronger than fear. For the story unfolding before you has not reached its most beautiful chapter. And there is still one truth about that first embrace, one quiet promise hidden within it, that has yet to be revealed. My beloved child, there is a sacred truth that your heart has longed to understand, even before you found the words to ask for it. The embrace that awaits you is not extraordinary because of how tightly someone will hold you. It is extraordinary because of what will quietly leave your spirit the moment it happens. For so long, you have carried invisible burdens that no one else could see. You learned to smile while hiding exhaustion. You became skilled at comforting others while secretly wishing someone would notice that you, too, needed comfort. You convinced yourself that surviving was the same as living. But surviving was never the destination I imagined for you. You were created to experience peace that reaches places anxiety could never touch. There are moments in every life when healing arrives without making a sound. No announcement. No grand display. Only a quiet certainty settling over the soul like the first light of dawn after a night that seemed endless. That is the mystery of the embrace being prepared for you. It will not change the past. It will change the way your heart carries the past. The memories that once felt unbearably heavy will no longer define every tomorrow. The tears you once believed had stolen your strength will become reminders that you endured, that you continued walking even when every step required courage. Do you remember the nights when you wondered whether anyone would ever understand you completely? Those questions never disappeared into silence. Every whispered prayer, every hopeful sigh, every moment you chose not to give up became part of a story still unfolding beyond what your eyes could see. Even now, while you listen to these words, life is moving in ways hidden from you. Conversations are happening that you know nothing about. Circumstances are changing without your awareness. Hearts are growing in quiet places. Doors that once appeared permanently closed are beginning to loosen on their hinges. Not because of coincidence. Because seasons always change. Winter never asks permission before giving way to spring. Neither does hope. You have mistaken stillness for absence. Yet many of my greatest works begin where human eyes see nothing happening. A seed beneath the earth appears lifeless until the day it breaks through the soil. Its growth was never delayed. It was simply hidden. So has your own. There were times you believed you had fallen behind everyone else. You watched others celebrate milestones while wondering why your own journey seemed slower. You questioned your timing. You questioned your worth. Sometimes, you even questioned whether your prayers had reached heaven at all. But my beloved child, comparison has always hidden the beauty of your own path. You have not been forgotten. You have been formed. Every season that demanded patience also planted wisdom. Every disappointment deepened compassion. Every goodbye made room for a hello that carries greater peace than you can imagine today. One day, you will look back and realize that what you called delays were actually protections. There were roads you desperately wanted to travel that would have led only to more heartbreak. There were people you begged to stay who were never meant to remain. There were dreams that quietly dissolved because something gentler, stronger, and more lasting was being prepared in their place. Trust does not mean understanding every step. Trust means believing that love can still exist beyond what you currently see. And somewhere, another heart is learning that same lesson. Perhaps they are letting go of fear this very moment. Perhaps they are discovering courage after years of uncertainty. Perhaps they have finally begun believing that genuine kindness still exists. Neither of you knows how close your stories are to intersecting. Yet every ordinary day brings you nearer than the one before. When that meeting finally arrives, you may not recognize its significance immediately. It could begin with a simple conversation. A shared laugh. An unexpected moment of silence that feels strangely comfortable. There will be no need to perform. No pressure to become someone you are not. For the first time in a long while, your heart will feel safe enough to rest. That safety is one of the greatest gifts love can offer. Not excitement alone. Not endless words. But peace. Real peace. The kind that remains after the conversation ends. The kind that calms fears instead of feeding them. The kind that reminds you that being fully known is not something to fear. And then, when the moment is right, when neither heart is trying to prove anything, when trust has quietly taken root, the embrace will come. It will not feel like escaping your life. It will feel like finally returning to it. You will realize that healing was never about forgetting yesterday. Healing was about discovering that tomorrow is still worthy of hope. Some tears may come. Not tears of despair. But tears your soul has carried for far too long. You may not even understand why they appear. Sometimes the heart releases pain only after it finally believes it is safe. There is no weakness in that. There is remarkable courage. Never believe that love removes every challenge. Even the strongest relationships walk through difficult seasons. But genuine love refuses to let fear become the loudest voice. It chooses patience. It chooses honesty. It chooses forgiveness. Again and again. That is the quiet miracle many people spend their entire lives searching for. As you continue your own journey, do not allow impatience to steal today's peace. Laugh when joy finds you. Rest when your spirit grows tired. Forgive yourself for the moments you believed you were not enough. You have always been more deeply loved than you realized. Carry hope gently. Not as a demand that tomorrow must unfold exactly as you imagine, but as confidence that goodness can still surprise you. The story is still being written. The pages ahead have not yet been turned. And when, someday, you remember this message, it may not be because every detail happened exactly as you expected. It may be because you discovered something even greater, that the deepest healing began the moment you opened your heart to hope again. So walk forward with courage. Walk forward with kindness. Walk forward believing that even after seasons of sorrow, new beginnings remain possible. For the love that transforms a heart does not arrive to erase who you have been. It arrives to remind you that your story is far from over, and that the most beautiful chapters are often the ones no one could have predicted.